So we have to contend with the Paris traffic now. Did you all have a nice time in London?
Wonderful.
Yeah, can you all speak like the Brits by now?
Oh, bloody hell.
Oh, bloody hell, off with his head, off with his leg.
Yeah, that too.
You can all speak like the Monty Python team by now, can you? Oops, what's happening? Driver's escaping? Oops, I'm going to have to drive the bus. You'll be sorry for that, huh? Or is it? One of the doors is not shut outside. You have bricks in those suitcases. I saw the size of them. Good job they have wheels, isn't it?
Sorry.
Yeah, use them as weapons, huh? Battering rams in the station. Kids, while we're waiting for the driver to come back, just a word about those naughty gypsies that we have hanging around everywhere. Did you see them? Some of them get caught up into signing those fake petitions. They're not real ones. So if they come up pestering you saying, can you speak English? Sign this petition for some unknown cause. Don't sign, because while you're busy signing, they pick the pocket.
Or
So,
give change.
Yeah, so they bring all their family turns up and you're surrounded. So just shoo them away or bite them if you want. So I bite them now, put a mean vicious look on my face. Huh? So I'm just telling you, when we get off, our picture stops because they hang around. It's like an extended family. Huh? We do have pickpocket police, but not enough of them. So now they're up to all the tricks in the world. So just be extra careful with your personal belongings whenever we get off for quickie pickies. What we're going to do is drive past some of the right bank monuments to start with. A lot of the lovely major sites, the Opera House, the Concorde, the Champs-Élysées, the Arch of Triumph. Then we're going to make a little stop in the middle at that famous viewing terrace for the, I nearly said the Eiffel Tower. Do you know about the Eiffel Tower? Because a few months ago, the Eiffel Tower went on strike. That's never been heard of, huh? And all the English newspaper headlines said the Eiffel Tower. So now that's stuck in our mind. But of course, we can't leave until we've got at least 1 million pictures of that. So we're going to make a special stop at the Trocadero, and then we can kill two birds with one stone, and we can do quickie pickies and quickie pippies, and we can get fed and watered for those of you who are on food deprivation by now. You're not, are you? Because you're snacking here. Are you all black holes like my kids? Can't be filled, huh? So we'll stop at the Trocadero. There's loads of temptation stuff there, like crepes. You can't walk by and not get one, huh? Crepes dripping with Nutella, banana, all 0-calorie stuff in Paris, isn't it? So, that's what they told me when I came to live here, and look what happened to me, huh? At least we have smiles on our faces, huh? So just enjoy, and you're on holiday, so everything remains 0 calories for the whole tour, right? Just enjoy every morsel, and especially in Paris, because it's known for the gastronomic delights. So we'll make that little stop at the Trocadero and then give you time to do that. The drivers ask us not to eat on the bus, by the way, because they just messes up all the seats. Quite a nice bus we have. It looks like somebody's apartment here with all those parquet floors. And so we'll just be kind to the driver and not mess up his bus. So we'll eat the crepes outside. And then after that, round all the other sites to get you to the hotel round about 4:30ish, 5 o'clock-ish, see how the traffic goes. And then you've got time to do Superman and Wonder Woman and quick turnaround, get your glad rags on for tonight, because you're out on the town again, aren't you, tonight? That's it. I think our driver's abandoned us. What's he doing? What's he doing? Chatting to his friend or on strike or something? Is he down there?
You can tell me where to go, I'll drive.
That's it, you'll drive?
I'll drive, tell me where to go.
Let's have a look, see where we went. What's he doing?
Subway. Eat fresh, even in Paris.
That's it, we've got our driver back. I was in a panic state then. I thought I had to drive the bus. My goodness, I've only got 3 points left on my driving license. Uh-oh, because you start out with... Yeah, the mic is working. Can you all hear all right at the back? Yeah, that's loud enough. Good, I'm not bursting anybody's eardrums. Perfect. Yeah, so for the driving, you've already had a first-hand experience coming out of that train station of how the Parisians drive. It's not like those polite London ones, is it? They all turn into homicidal maniacs behind wheels once they get let loose behind the wheel of a car. So do be extra careful. What's this van doing? Is going to try to park in a space where there's only room for a bike. That's it's going to get it in there. That's it. You just use the bumpers for bumping here. And then, oh, go on. That's it. He's nearly done it. That's it. Just knock a post down and then always changed his mind. Good. He's getting embarrassed. That's it. Good for him. So at least we have a big bus and we're like the king of the jungle going around here. So we can abuse our driver as much as we like this afternoon. We're going to make him go in some of those nooks and crannies with this big vehicle. So hang on to your seats there. You should have a nice view up there. You're nice and high, aren't you? You can see into people's apartment windows. That's my favourite activity, looking into people's apartment windows to get your cameras ready and get some nice views of Paris. They tried to clean up this station as a historic monument, isn't it? Look there, you've got all the names of the different towns that you can catch the trains to there, all represented by statues, the Gare du Nord. And what a fantastic invention that train was that you came on, huh? Before it took a whole day to get from London to Paris because you had to go on the ferry. You had to go over the English Channel, so you had to count a whole day. And now you can even do it in a day and go back again. So fantastic for business people as well. So that's wonderful. Save you some time and fit more exciting stuff into Paris. McDonald's on the left, just ignore it. That's the first thing you see when you step out. Now we're pushed to find something that you haven't got back home. So if you see something that you don't see at home, then get pictures of it and put it on Facebook, as everything has become globalized now. We try to avoid going to the McDonald's and the Starbucks and the Burger Kings and what have you, but sometimes it's unavoidable, isn't it? And the French get really upset about those English words as well that keep coming into the vocabulary. I was just listening on the radio this morning. It's the moment of the year when they have to choose the words that go into the French dictionary, and that's when the French Academy get up in arms about all those English words. And you know what the latest one is that's getting in the dictionary?
Selfie.
Yes, le selfie. But you have to pronounce it like Inspector Clouseau, huh? Le selfie. So that's it. So everybody's mad about that. And even the French Canadians, because they're the ones who are always trying to purify the French language, they say you can't say le selfie, you have to say le ego portrait. Ego portrait. That's hilarious, isn't it? That's funnier than the selfie. So if you thought you couldn't speak French, you probably can. You just put le or la in front of the English word, and it probably means the same thing. So words like le weekend, and le parking, le meeting, le shopping, le body piercing has also been seen in a window in a shop. Not to mention le cheeseburger and le Big Mac and le milkshake. It's all now typical words in the French vocabulary. Can you all understand this funny French accent? It's weird, I know, but I've been here a long time. I was just made in England, but now I've been in Paris for 32 years, but I'm stuck with that British accent. I married a Frenchman, that's what finally kept me here. We all make mistakes, huh? Forget it, girls. It takes you 10 years to train them. You have to use the Pavlov dog technique. You get to them through their stomachs, the little bells, huh? I came for the man and stayed for the food. That's the best move possible. So now the French are upset because they have to go to work. That's why we've got homicidal maniacs. Because in May, I just calculated that the French only work about 10 days in the whole month because of all those public holidays that land in this month. First we had 1st of May, Labor Day. 8th of May was Armistice Day from the Second World War. 14th of May was Ascension Day. It's a Catholic holiday that became a public holiday. And next Monday is Pentecost, 25th of May. And what happens if the holiday falls on a Thursday? They take the Friday off as well, that's it. They call it doing the bridge. And if it lands on the Monday, they take the Friday to make a long weekend. So there's hardly any days left. The French are actually working, huh? So, and if they're fed up of working, then they have strike days as well. Because our favorite activity in France, it's still eating, but it's closely followed by striking and demonstrating, so you don't really feel as if you've been here until you've participated in at least one of those. Well, we had a big one the day before yesterday. The teachers were on strike, huh? Because of the reform that they're plotting in the high school system. They're wanting to get rid of Greek and Latin since they're dead languages, but also they want to stop teaching the history of Christianity in school. Already we can't teach religions in school since 1905. Did you know that? Totally secular country as far as the education's concerned. So we're not allowed to teach religion, but we're allowed to teach history of religion because they're what formed our countries. So now they're saying they're going to take out of the curriculum the teaching of Christianity, which is silly because that's what formed our culture, isn't it? So the teachers are up in arms and the parents are as well. So that's what created demonstrations 2 days ago. But at least twice a week you will find a demonstration, so don't worry if you thought you didn't have enough of that colour. You know that little bonnet that you were following on the stick when you came out of the station? That's my demonstration hat. It's called a Phrygian bonnet, that red bonnet, and it became a symbol of the French Revolution. So it was the symbol of freedom from slavery in antiquity, and the revolutionaries took it up as a symbol. So now when we have demonstrations, we wear those red bonnets, huh? So that's funny, if you look like a demonstration walking around Paris, following my selfie stick with the Phrygian bonnet on it. Now here we are crossing down the right bank, heading towards the most beautiful building in the whole city, which is the Opera House. That's the first monument that we're going to see. But to get down there, we have to go down these one-way streets. At least we've got a nice driver who goes in the illegal lane. I like him already, do you? You see it says bus in the lane there, but it doesn't refer to our tour bus. It refers to those green and white city buses, so we're not supposed to use them. If the police come, then we get in trouble, but we'll keep an eye peeled. And see what else they've put in these bus lanes? Bikes, because there's no room for biking lanes to create new ones, so they had this great idea of putting buses and bikes in the same lane. Sounds like a good combination. Sounds like death by bike, doesn't it? It's a good way of bringing down the population rates of Paris. So who would like to ride one of those rent-a-bikes around Paris? You really do need nerves of steel, but you see some people on them, and of course they're good because you can nip in and out of the traffic, and then you can just put them back into any stand you find. So now there's 20,000 bikes for rent in Paris. You just put your credit card into the machine and you rent them by the hour. This is not to encourage people to do it, I think, because Doris wants to keep you for the rest of the tour, huh? So, I know it's not a good idea to rent those bikes, I think. The only day Parisians like to take their families on them is on a Sunday morning, because then the traffic is really smooth and you can ride around Paris like a tourist on a push bike. But right now this is business Paris, so it's always a little bit busier than the rest of the city because it's where we have all the banks and the offices and the big department stores. You're arriving just at the start of the afternoon, so people are starting to go back to work again after having had their lunch, but round about 4 o'clock they start to go home because that's the start of the rush hour. And it sounds very early, doesn't it? 4 o'clock. And going up to about 10 o'clock in the morning, commuters are still coming in. That's because of all that flexi-time system that caught on in Paris. So you arrange with your colleagues to go in at the time you like and finish at the time you like. The idea was to even out the traffic jams in the mornings and the evenings. And also they only have to do their 35 hours a week. Does that sound like a dream? It's the government set working week in France still. We're always complaining about our lack of free time here, and they are one of the more fortunate countries of Europe. 35 hours a week. I had a Malaysian group the other day, and they said we do that in 2 days. So it's true, other countries, they're always saying, what's 35 hours? Nothing. And anything over that, it's overtime. So you can take it in pay, or you can take it in leave. So usually by Friday lunchtime, everybody's done their hours, and there's an exodus out of the city off for the weekend. So that's why you will see traffic. I mention that because often people say, where are all those people going? They're not already leaving home from work. And also we should mention that there are more of us living outside Paris than in the city centre. We've only got 2.5 million people, but if you count the direct suburbs as well, 12 million were the last statistics. That's a big phenomenon, isn't it, for a capital city of Europe? Means now we've got over 20% of the population of France, all congregated in its capital city. So I'm sure Napoleon Bonaparte is smiling in his tomb, because he was the one who wanted to centralize everything in Paris, and it still is that way today. Oh dear, our driver doesn't go through the red light. What's wrong? Now you know, if you go through the red light, you get all 12 points removed off your driving license. I've only got 3 left, so I'm trying to stick to them like glue, because when you get down to 0, you have to resit the test, so that's not good news, is it? So you have to wait a year to get a point back. You start with 12, and then they keep taking them off for different offences. So that's it, 3 points, that's not good. So I'm just using my car for local activities now and sticking to the public transport, which is what we should all do in the city, and that's what the government is desperately trying to make us do. Not use our personal cars to come in, but use the public transport system. It's not working at all. You're going to see we're so egotistical. Everybody's sitting one person in one car for 1 hour every morning commuting in, which is a shame, because we do have this fantastic public transport system. You can be living 100 kilometers outside the city and you can still commute in on one of those regional express trains. That's what I do. They're the best system in the world when they're not on strike. So 5 lines of that. They go a bit faster than the metros and they stop at less stations. So Paris is growing further and further out. Not like London, which is growing further and further up, isn't it? Did you notice all those modern new high-rise buildings? Anything goes there, doesn't it?
Yep.
In Paris, you'll see a total contrast, because here we have a height limit. We're not allowed to build up at all. The height limit is 31 meters. So that's why we have such a lovely homogeneous skyline. The government is talking about adding on 1 story, hiring up a little bit to help the housing problem, but I don't think it would, because it's so expensive in the city centre now that it wouldn't help the housing shortage. So all we can do is grow out. So they keep talking about the Grand Paris. It keeps growing further and further out. Now, talking about the business area, start to get excited, because here come the big department stores. Coming on the right, the ladies department of the Galeries Lafayette. That's the most famous department store, which is also classed as a historic monument from 1900. So if you are coming back there, even if you're not shopping, it's lovely to look inside at the sculpted wrought iron balcony and the glass mosaic dome under which fashion parades are still performed. So it's very typical of that 1900 style. That's the big chunk of it then, the ladies department on the right, which is closely followed by the men's department, very small. I'm sorry, gentlemen. And also there's the interior decorating department, which now also contains Lafayette Gourmet. That's my favorite store in the whole world. That's where you can pick up the typical French delicatessen delights, frog's legs and snails, pâtés, caviars. They've got their own wine and champagne department, a pastry bar where you can try them out before you buy them. What an idea, Truffles, not only the chocolate truffle, but this mushroom truffle, which is snuffled out from under trees by specially trained dogs or pigs. Usually have that in a truffle omelette on a special occasion. So looking straight ahead of us, on the right the men's department, and on the left, where the red flag says Lafayette Maison, that's the interior decorating department, which for the time being also contains Lafayette Gourmet, because that part of the store is being done out. That new famous pastry chef has just opened in there as well, Christophe Adam. Have you heard of him? He won one of those pastry competitions on the television, and he makes nothing but eclairs. That's the new tendency dessert now, which is taking over from the macarons that hit the world as well. So inside, on the right-hand side, you will find a lovely stand of Christophe Adam's selling nothing but eclairs, not just chocolate ones, but nice fruity flavoured eclairs as well. We're on that subject of food again, aren't we? Look to the left now. Here comes the Opera House. These are the back entrances to the opera, which a century ago would have been used by the subscribers, but now they're used for the musicians and for the ballerinas. The entrance to the Opera House is on the side here. You are coming back to this neighborhood, because know that you don't necessarily have to watch a ballet performance to go in there. You can just buy your ticket and go in to have a look at the sheer splendor of those palatial audience rooms. And this ramp on the left, which has had a recent beauty treatment, that's the way in. It's got a bust of the architect in the middle, Charles Garnier. He was an unknown architect. He was only 35 years old when he won an architectural competition, and he was allowed to build in the style that he preferred. He liked the Italian styles because he'd spent 8 years living in Rome, and that's what prompted him to use all those marbles. 33 different kinds of marble were used for the decoration on the inside. And look to the left now, here's the front of the opera, which has that lovely Italian-style loggia, that type of covered balcony on the main facade where people can stand and watch the world go by. Of course, that opera house is also where the Phantom lives. Who's seen the Phantom of the Opera? Phantom of the Opera is still running after over 20 years. Andrew Lloyd Webber, still in London, isn't it? But surprisingly, it's never been performed in France, which is a bit of a shock because originally it was a French book and it was written by Gaston Leroux. He tells the story of the Phantom who floats on his underground lake and falls in love with an opera singer. Well, there really is an underground lake. You can't go on boat rides on it like the Phantom or anything like that, but it's when they were digging down for their foundations in 1860, they hit a water table. And first they spent a year trying to pump it out, and then they had a brainwave and decided to dam it up and make it into an artificial lake. Well, that turned into a brilliant idea because it sits directly underneath the stage, all that water, and it creates a sort of bathroom effect. It gives a bathroom effect to the auditorium, lovely acoustics in that opera house. Here we're just taking a little detour along one of the most exclusive, expensive shopping areas as far as jewelry is concerned. So this is just for looking, not for buying. We have to do what the French refer to as lèche vitrine, window licking. We say window shopping, don't we? But it's funnier in French. So here's serious window licking. And these jewelry shops keep getting burgled. Do you see that in the newspapers? And now it's so much of a problem that they've decided to put bodyguards on every jewelry shop. And even if you just want to look at a piece of jewelry from the window, they give you 2 bodyguards now. And some of them have a 24-hour day police guard. They have a police van right in front of them. So we'll just have a little ogle at some of the famous names as we enter this next square, which is the Place Vendôme. Vendôme Square is totally surrounded by famous jewelry names. The column in the center is getting a beauty treatment at the moment, but they put a picture of how it looks at the tall green column with a statue of Napoleon on the top, dressed like a Roman emperor. Well, that column dates from 1805, the Battle of Austerlitz, from which Napoleon captured 800 bronze cannons from the Austrians, and he had them melted down to make the band that winds its way to the top of the column. Also on the Vendôme Square, the most expensive luxury hotel in Paris, the Ritz, which is also having, for the first time in its history, a beauty treatment. It's on the right behind all that scaffolding. That's why we had to put you somewhere else this year. Next year we're staying in there. Once it's had its beauty treatment. But I think people still connect the Hotel Ritz with Princess Diana. Is that right? Can you still remember her? Even though that accident was such a long time ago now, it was in 1997, on the 31st of August, that she ate her last supper in the Hotel Ritz and then set off on that tragic accident route from the back of the Ritz. And it happened in a tunnel just opposite the Eiffel Tower called the Alma Tunnel. I'm sorry about those road works, everybody. They've been going on since March. That's when they start the serious ones. 1 person works and 5 people watch. It takes us 6 months to dig up the road. Police guard on the right, see, they're guarding Chopars. Chopar, the jewelry shop, because they got burgled. Somebody walked in with a gun and got out with €6 million worth of jewelry. 2 earrings, right?
Wow.
Chopin. They're the ones who lend jewelry to the movie stars at the Cannes Film Festival, which is happening at the moment in the south of France. They lend jewelry and designers lend clothing, so it's a prestige thing. Lots of luxury hotels, not only the Ritz in this neighborhood, but also the Westin, the Lottie, and to the left above those arcades, those are the apartments of the infamous Hotel Meurice, which is a palace hotel. There's not many of those. That means it's a higher star hotel than a 4-star, and it's a historic building. But most Parisians know, and some of them even remember, that during the Second World War, that's where the Gestapo had their headquarters, during that awful period of history when Paris was occupied for 4 years by the Nazis. I'm sure the tourists staying there today wouldn't like to know that there's ghosts of Nazi generals walking around their bedrooms, huh? But that's also the hotel that you might recognize from a movie, Midnight in Paris, because a lot of the scenes were filmed in there. That's a different period of time, isn't it? The 1920s that it talks about, but the Hotel Meurice was used for some of the scenes. Here we just entered Rue de Rivoli Street, which looks a bit like a shady, arcaded Italian-style shopping street. Somebody said the other day, can you tell me where Ravioli Street is? That's funny, they knew it was something Italian, but they've forgotten the name. Ravioli Street, that's hilarious, isn't it? And over on the left, that's the Tuileries Garden behind that gilded railing. The most popular park on the right bank, the Tuileries Garden. And here now comes my favorite entry into the Place de la Concorde. Look across as we enter. Suddenly Paris opens out towards the west. That's our first view of the Eiffel Tower, isn't it? Nice and clear.
To the right of the Champs-Élysées.
That's it, fantastic, with the obelisk of Luxor and the Eiffel Tower all in a perfect line. So suddenly you get the impression of wide open spaces and airy boulevards, lots of straight, homogeneous, rigid lines. That's what the west of Paris looks like, that we often call modern Paris. But modern means 17th, 18th, 19th and 20th centuries, so it's not so modern in some people's eyes. The Concorde Square is mostly remembered in history as being the place where the guillotine was inaugurated at the French Revolution, 21st of January 1793, with the head of King Louis XVI. That's when he got his head chopped off, along with 2,000 other victims, including his queen, Marie Antoinette, in the October of the same year. But originally that had been a royal square with a statue of King Louis XV in the middle. But during the French Revolution, statues of kings got their heads chopped off as if they were people, so that was the fate of his statue. Well, today the monument in the center, the obelisk of Luxor, that's the oldest monument in Paris, 33 centuries old, 3,300 years old. It came from the site of the tomb of Ramses II of Thebes in Egypt, and it was offered as a gift to the French king, Louis Philippe. In exchange, the French gave a clock to the Egyptians that only worked for 1 year and then conked out. That's embarrassing, isn't it? We got an ancient monument and they got a clock that didn't work. Here on the right, the building that's in scaffolding is another palace hotel, the Hotel Crillon. But look what a good job they did to cover up the scaffolding. They put one of those fake facades with a little sneaky tease of what's underneath it. Makes it much nicer than the scaffolding, doesn't it? And know that just after that is the American Embassy, very well guarded. Can you see on the next right corner, just in front of those trees where all the police are standing there? Or just behind them is the American Embassy. Is everybody from the US? Everybody on this bus? That's right.
Yes.
So that's your embassy, isn't it? So don't lose your passport, or you might get a free unexpected visit, huh? Doris had a panic look on her face then. Where did the guillotine stand? In fact, just a stone's throw away from the American Embassy, no connection. Just here on the left, where you can see a statue of a lady on a pedestal, that's where the guillotine was inaugurated. But they kept moving it around because the locals complained about it standing in their district and they had to keep moving it. So we know of 9 different spots that it moved to in Paris. Because although it was a show and people used to come to watch the heads falling off, the locals did complain. So Concord was reserved mostly for the royal and the aristocratic chops, and it was at the time known as the Revolution Square. That's a gory period of history, isn't it, when we talk about the Reign of Terror. But the guillotine was not invented in France. We can put the blame on somebody else. They already had in Italy what they referred to as an infernal machine. It was used in slaughterhouses for chopping animals' heads off. But it was a Frenchman who spotted it there. His name was the Dr. Guillotin. So he gave his name to the machine, and he thought it was a good method for killing people, and he brought it back to France. And when it first came here, it was known as the philanthropic machine, because it was considered a much more humane method for killing people than the ones they had previously. Burning at the stake and hanging, drawing and quartering. So they thought the guillotine was great. One chop and it was all over. There was even a businessman invented a guillotine for 9 heads at the same time. A family-sized guillotine, which fortunately was never put into operation. But now, on a much lighter note than the guillotine, look where we are. We're on the most beautiful avenue in the world, as many people say. You all know the name of this one? The Champs-Élysées. That's a hard word to pronounce, like lots of the French words, loads of silent letters. It looks like Champs-Élysées, but you pronounce it Champs-Élysées. It's like a sing-song. And if you translate it, it means Elysian fields, the mythological paradise of the Romans, so we could call it Fields of Paradise if you want to translate it. And the idea of laying it out was one of Queen Mary of Medici's. She wanted this Queen's Walkway lined with shady chestnut trees. And the bottom half still looks like that today. The top half, close to the Arch of Triumph, that's the commercial section. Airline companies, car showrooms, cinemas, etc. On the left, the building with the big glass roof is the Art Exhibition Palace, the Grand Palais. And at the moment, we have a very popular exhibit for Jean-Paul Gaultier, the French clothes designer. Can you see his picture on the front there? So if you see everybody walking around in navy-type t-shirts, that's because the fashion has come back. Doris, how did you know? Doris is wearing one of those trendy t-shirts. Jean-Paul Gaultier, huh? He also created the fashion for skirts for men. No, I think that was the Scots, wasn't it? So you know what to wear now, gentlemen, huh? When you're dressing up for the Moulin Rouge tonight. Put your skirts on and your garters for tonight. So the Grand Palace has usually got several exhibits at the same time in it. The other one is Velázquez, Spanish painter. So there's quite a few exhibits to squish in. Now, this is one of the rare occasions that you can see the flags hanging in the trees, and particularly the French flag hanging under the Arch of Triumph. So get your cameras ready when we drive past there. It's because of a state visit. The President of Singapore has been here for a few days already. Right in the center of the avenue here, they're just changing the spring flowers, because they change them twice in the spring, twice in the summer. So it looks a bit bare for the moment. Tomorrow there should be some flowers back in. The fountains don't work either, but they remain quite famous because their bases were built out of sheets of Lalique crystal that can be illuminated in different colors. Over to the left, behind that black and gilded railing, is Abercrombie and Fitch. I know, it's in a palace. It's a wonderful building. If you come back onto the Champs-Élysées, pop in and have a look at those nice models that they have. All our kids like to go and get their jeans there now. You've probably got loads of those at home, haven't you? But maybe not one that's in a palace like on the Champs-Élysées. So it's worth going in just to look at the building there. And then you can get your bag with a half-naked man on it and walk around the Paris Metro. That's trendy as well. So here we are, the commercial section, the people watching section. This is where we all go celebrity spotting. So if you see a bunch of people outside a building, you can be sure that there's a celebrity there. There's not many in at the moment because they're all in the south of France at the Cannes Film Festival. But often the movies have premieres on here, particularly the movies that were made in English. This is where we send the school kids so they can open their ear to the English language, because here you can watch them with French subtitles, and when they have their premieres, often the movie stars come to inaugurate them, so that's when we can get a chance of seeing somebody famous. I haven't seen anybody particularly special this year. Last year I saw Sylvester Stallone inaugurating Expendables 3 on the Champs-Elysees. He waved and said, "Hello, Janice." And then I woke up. So we can dream, can't we, of seeing movie stars. Look on the left, La Durée with the green decoration there. What do La Durée make? Macaroons. They're the oldest founders of macaroons. We should say macaron. That's the correct pronunciation. But they were founded in the 19th century. So if you're looking for the real McCoy macaron, that's the place to go. On the left, Phuket with the bright red awning, pronounced that way. Much frequented by journalists and cinema stars. The most celebrated restaurant. Closely followed on the left by our new King Louis. Which king? Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton became famous when he started to make traveling trunks for the ballerinas at the Paris Opera House, but now people come from far and wide to pay what look to us like prohibitive prices for suitcases and handbags. And they were the first store to have been given total derogation for Sunday shopping license, because that's still a big issue in France, Sunday shopping. So everybody's up in arms, because Sunday has been the quiet day, usually family day, church day, and now they're wanting to open all the shops on a Sunday, like in most of the other European countries. So there's big resistance, but they managed to get every Sunday license for opening. Do you know how they did that? They opened museum space in their store, so now they're partly considered as a museum. Sneaky, huh? Now lots of the other stores are being given that license. So if you come here on a Sunday, then the Champs-Elysees is now quite lively, because they consider it to be a tourist zone. So now some of them are exempt from that strict licensing, which now all the stores have managed to get 12 Sundays per year, the big ones, where they're allowed to open. So the rest of the time we're window licking and saving up for the sale fund. The sales aren't starting till June, everybody, so we have to wait another few weeks yet before the government allows the nationwide sales to begin, because they're only twice a year in France. It's once in the winter, once in the summer, so 5 weeks each time. So we literally do save up a sale fund, then we can go berserk with our euros on the few weeks of the sale. Is that your restaurant? Is that it? Mm-hmm. Oh, nice. That's tonight, Doris. Yeah. Oh, that's great. You are coming back then in the evening, aren't you? Whoa! So then you can set foot onto the Champs-Elysees when you come for your dinner. Fantastic. Over here to the left, that's where you're having dinner. Way! That's a nice typical French menu there, Chez Clément. So you can try a little bit of horse meat in there, can't you? Yeah. That's the main course tonight.
Woohoo!
You know, they're all going green in their seats. You know, in France we have equality for animals. We eat all of them. Horses included.
Starter, frog legs, right?
Frog's legs to start, and then a few snails, that's it. And then horse meat for the main course. Wonderful.
Good cheese.
Bit of
Yum.
goat's cheese, that's it. Yeah, bit of pig's trotter after that. They're all going to the McDonald's tonight.
Oh, I'm gonna try it. I'm all for it.
That's it. Bring out your dead. Wait a minute, I'm not dead. Now hold on to your seats, everybody, because look where we're arriving. At the scariest traffic circle in the whole of France, the one that goes around the Arch of Triumph. This is like the law of the jungle. The biggest one wins. No defined lanes to get the traffic on. You just have to squeeze in any way you can get. Even insurance companies won't give any responsibility for any fender benders that happen on here. They only give 50-50 if it happens on this square. It is so ill-reputed. So the best thing to do is close your eyes and pray. That's what our driver's doing now. And look up instead of looking down at the traffic. Can you see all those people on top of the arch? You can actually go up it with your museum cards. You can go up the right leg, 284 steps to get to the top. And on the top is a museum showing the history of the construction and a nice view around the 12 avenues that radiate out like a star. Hence the name of the square that it stands on. It's called Place Charles de Gaulle Étoile. Place meaning square. Charles de Gaulle, because when that president died in 1970, his body lay in state under the arch, and then Étoile, star, because of the shape of the avenues. And if you're coming back here in your free time, whatever you do, don't try to cross that square on foot. That would be like a death wish, huh? There's a much easier way. I mentioned that because not long ago I saw a whole group of Japanese tourists just charging across the square. It's like a kamikaze photo stop. There's a much easier way. There's an underground passageway, goes from the top of the Champs-Élysées, and it pops you up just there. Can you see underneath the French flag what all those people have come to look at? It's a tomb with flowers on it and a flame of memory that's never allowed to burn out. So every evening at 6 o'clock, there's a triumphal military procession crosses the square to relight the flame. Do you all know what that tomb is? It's the tomb of the unknown driver. That's what the Parisians nickname it today. Of course, it's our tomb of the unknown soldier. Lots of cities have those now. Our soldier came from a First World War battlefield from Verdun. He was the symbol of the young Frenchmen who lost their lives in the service of the country. So they have two big celebrations every year: Armistice Day, 8th of May, and then of course Poppy Day, 11th of November, Remembrance Day. But every evening they relight it, so there's plenty to see if you come back to the Arch of Triumph. But now we've taken one of those 12 avenues off the Arch of Triumph, and this one takes us directly down to the Trocadero, so that's where we're going to have our first little knee bend, little leg stretch, and a crepe maybe, nice pickies, pictures of the Eiffel Tower. Group picture, that's, oh yes, we can do that, good spot. There's a little bit of construction going on, so we need to go over the terrace and into the right corner, then you can get that nice unobstructed view to the Eiffel Tower. So it should be nice and clear in the afternoon from this side, so perfect. So we'll stick like Luchadores first, and then we can do the group picture, and then we'll give you enough time to get a little bite to eat, use the PP room, etc. A little bit of cultural experience coming up there. Ooh, coming up on the left is our most recently opened Palace Hotel, the Peninsula. If you want to pay €2,000 a night for a little room, huh? That's the same standard rooms. Look on the left, guarded by those two smiling lions, smiling with their money belts, I think. There's one in London as well, isn't there, a Peninsula? I don't know where else in the world they have them, but that just opened last year. So the Peninsula is in the Golden Triangle, as we refer to it. These are the poshest neighborhoods in Paris, actually. So the Golden Triangle goes from the Concorde to the Arch of Triumph to the Eiffel Tower. So it's exactly the route that we're taking. This is part of District 16. Altogether there are 20 districts in Paris, but it's really easy to tell where you are. You just look out for the blue street plaques. They not only give you the name of the street, like here, Avenue Kléber, but above it is the number of your arrondissement. That's the French word for district. So District 1 is right in the middle, where we have the Louvre Museum. We'll see that later. And then two circles radiate out to the edge like a snail shell to district number 20. So Paris, it's like a pool that somebody threw a pebble into, and it ripples out into two circles. But we've only had 20 districts since the year 1860, and before that there were only 12. The district system was introduced just after the French Revolution. Well, we still have a saying in the French language to describe a couple who lived together without being married. We say that they were married in the 13th district, because then there were only 12. So now if we use that expression today, nobody knows where it comes from, and they think they were married in Chinatown, because now District 13 of Paris has become our Chinatown. So it's funny how expressions sneak into languages, and then we don't know where they come from. But only really wealthy people live here. Lots of surgeons and lawyers, ambassadors, clothes designers, cinema stars, pop singers, French bus drivers, Austrian tour leaders. There's Doris's second apartment over there, just next to mine. In our dream, in the next slide, say, when we win the lottery, shall we say, because it's become so prohibitive. Actually, it's a buyer's market at the moment, so if you've got a little spare money you want to invest, the price has gone down in the Golden Triangle to 10,000 euros a square meter. Buy a couple of those, shall we? And your dollar is doing really well at the moment, isn't it? Is it about 1-to-1 now? Almost, isn't it? That's good for you. Not for us, but it's good for you. So you need to buy your apartment in the 16. So look out, see if you can spot one that you fancy. Have you been looking into people's apartment windows? People are often shocked when they look in and see how small and pokey the average residence is. You can't believe in what a tight space we live. There's not enough room to swing a cat around in most of our apartments. So the average apartment, it's only about 40 square meters, 400 square feet. Somebody said the other day, that's the size of my double garage, which is about right. It's like a cupboard. It's like a big cupboard. That would be for a one-bedroom apartment. And if you have 600 square feet, that's considered big space for a Parisian. There's actually a painting hanging in the Louvre Museum that's bigger than an average apartment in Paris, and it's only got a surface area of 66 square meters. So imagine living on the size of a painting, which is also the explanation of why more of us live outside the city than in. Firstly, it's the prices, it's much cheaper to live out, but also by choice. Some people don't want to breathe carbon monoxide their whole lives, so living outside you can be in the middle of the forest land, the agricultural land, get a bit of a little house with a garden, where city centre is just apartment accommodation. Oh, here we are, everybody. This is the Trocadero. So get ready to look on the left. Wow, the lighting is perfect here. I think the photographers are going to be in paradise. Get ready to go, ooh la la! Look to the left in the middle of those two palaces. This is the world-famous viewing terrace for the Eiffel Tower. So it's where they shoot all the picture postcards from. Oh, there's a tennis ball hanging underneath the tower. That's new, because you know why? What's starting this weekend? The French Open. Yes, Roland Garros. So they put a big tennis ball under the tower. Now, let's see if we can get dropped just in front of the Chaillot Palace here. The police will probably move on. And one of the nice places to visit, which is not in Paris, which is easily accessible, however, is the Palace of Versailles, the Sun King's Palace. So your museum pass allows you to go inside there. So just be thinking about the possibility of hiring a bus to go there, because it's outside the city. It's located about 15 kilometers outside Paris, but it's one of those high spots on the bucket list, isn't it, Versailles, that you can't not visit. So it's where the Hall of Mirrors is, and where the kings were living in the 17th and 18th centuries, with that beautiful park behind it. So it's usually a half-day trip. You can do it in a few hours in one afternoon. So if anybody's interested in going there, just think about it and let Doris know towards the end of the tour, and then maybe there's a possibility of hiring some transport to go there to make it more comfortable for you if enough people are interested. So just think about that, and while we're finishing off our sightseeing tour, and then when we get to the hotel, you can let Doris know. Good. So here we are going down towards the Eiffel Tower. What a fantastic clear view we have. It couldn't be nicer. You probably saw on your news, because it went on the CNN, in the month of March we had some really strange fluke hot weather. It went up to 25 Celsius. That's in the 70s, unheard of in March. And the Eiffel Tower disappeared in a pollution mist. Did you see that? It hit the headlights everywhere. And that's when they started sticking their nose into the pollution problems in Paris again. And they're only allowing half the cars into the city, because you couldn't breathe and your eyes were all stinging. Today is a nice clear day, so not so polluted, and a little bit of breeze, so that helps. But on that day it was just awful. So you couldn't be having a nicer view than this to the tower. And the gardens where you were looking down here on the right, the Trocadero Gardens, the fountains are actually operating, which is rather unusual on a weekday. Usually they do those on a Sunday. We just called the president to say we were passing by now, So we put the fountains on especially for you. And this is our first crossing over of the river. What's the name of the river that goes through Paris? The Seine, that's it. We say Seine in English, but now you're all French. You can pronounce it the French way. The Seine, S-E-I-N-E, which, if you translate it, would mean sinuous, because it's a really windy river. It's got lots of meanders in it as it winds its way up to the English Channel. So here we're going to cross from the right bank to the left bank, and now we're right under the nose of the Eiffel Tower, so you can actually see what colour it's painted. What colour is it? What colour do you think it is?
Brown.
Brown, yes. Because often people say, is it black or is it grey? It seems to change colour according to the climatic conditions or even just the distance you're viewing it from. But really close up you see it's a chocolatey, bronzy brown colour. And it's actually called Eiffel Tower Brown. They paint it in 3 different shades of brown, and with it being subject to corrosion, they have to repaint it every 7 years. And for that it takes 60 tons of paint, and usually takes them 13 months to cover it, because it's all hand painted. They have to hire mountain climbers to do that job. So we have fun watching them hang off from the sides with their paintbrushes, getting into the crevices. In fact, that's where the name of the building came from. One fell off and he said, I fell. That's bad, just delete it.
Nah.
I get these bad jokes from the Americans, actually. So the Eiffel Tower, the symbol of Paris. But when it was first built, it was not a symbol at all. It was greatly criticized, particularly by members of the art world. They hated it. Those open metallic constructions weren't considered aesthetically pleasing to the eye. They did have metallic construction then, but it was supposed to be for the interior framework, and then they expected you to stone embellish on the outside, so just leaving that open to the public, it was considered a monstrosity. It was considered to be fleeting and fragmentary and not quite finished. And the art world was so upset, they got together and decided every time they came to a spot in the city where it was visible, they'd turn round and go in the opposite direction in protest. And then the famous writer Oscar Wilde, who was living in Paris at the time, he said the best place to be in Paris is in the Eiffel Tower, because it's the only place you can't see it. So that's how it was officially received by the art world. But that's when it was first built in 1889 by the engineer Gustave Eiffel, who was already a specialist in metallic construction. He'd made bridges and viaducts in other parts of Europe, as well as waffle irons, another thing Eiffel was known for before he attempted this. Well, at first they were just intending to build it for the World Trade Fair, leave it up for 2 years, and then dismantle it again. But since it caused such controversy and people either loved it or hated it, and mostly they hated it, but at least they kept coming to see it. So in the end, they decided to leave it up. Did you see the wind turbines turning around on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't always see them. It's new that since a couple of months ago. Wind turbines on the second floor of the Eiffel Tower, so it generates electricity for the restaurant and for the souvenir shop. There's a really fancy restaurant on the second level of the Eiffel Tower. It's one of those Michelin star restaurants called the Jules Verne. But you need reservations there 3 months in advance, particularly you want to have your seat at the window, and it's a very popular one for marriage proposals. So maybe later in your life you want to book and go to the Jules Verne. The minimum gastronomic menu there is €210, and that's not counting your wines and your champagnes. So try to count on a big budget if you're going back to the Jules Verne. We can't drive directly behind the Eiffel Tower because it's mostly a pedestrianised field. It's a park behind there, which is why we're taking this parallel street, the Avenue Suffren, which is the dividing street between District 15 and District 7. So if you look on the left, it's the 7th, and on the right, it's the 15th. You can have illogical numbers bordering one on the other like that because of that snail shell circle system that the districts go out in. Well, District 7 is an address, but if you cross over the street, it's slightly cheaper. So each district has connotation of being more wealthy or less wealthy than another. But imagine if you have your apartment here in the 7th, you literally have the Eiffel Tower in your back garden, and that's one thing automatically makes prices of apartments go up. So you can can be living 60 miles to the west suburb, and you can just see the television antenna poking out way in the distance, and it still makes the prices of the apartments go up. Such an important symbol did it become. So here we can turn in at the military school. That's the imposing building as we drive past, which is from the 18th century. This is a lovely view as well, because we're in the middle of 3 centuries of architecture, one behind the other. So the military school from the 18th century, the Eiffel Tower from the 19th century, and behind the Eiffel Tower, the Chaillot Palace from the 20th century. So that's very typical of what we call modern Paris. And look across to the left at the entrance to the field, a very modern-looking glass construction. That's the Wall of Peace. It was only built in the year 2000, and somebody has vandalized the Wall of Peace. That's awful, isn't it? How can you vandalize a Wall of Peace? Somebody smashed in the bottom right and the top left panels there. Well, the Wall of Peace says the word peace in 32 different languages on those glass screens. And the symbolic idea of standing it there was to put it on the field of Mars, dedicated to Mars, the god of war, because that field had originally belonged to the military school, and it was used as a parade ground for soldiers. There was room on there for 10,000 soldiers to parade. This military school is still in function for the upper grades of the military. Originally founded in 1751, it was an idea of Madame de Pompadour. She was the most remembered mistress of a French king, mistress of King Louis XV, very clever, cultured lady who kept the title of the king's mistress for 20 years and had lots of influence on his political decisions as well. So she wanted a school for poor boys who wanted a military career but couldn't afford it. But in fact, some rather famous people have studied here, including Napoleon Bonaparte. He turned up there when he was only 15 years old and had a very quick rise to success. Brigadier General when he was only 24. Crowned himself Emperor in Notre Dame Cathedral when he was only 35. Of course, he died quite young as well. He was only 51 when he died on his exile island, probably from a stomach cancer, or as more recent research revealed, possibly from an arsenic poisoning. Do you think the English poisoned him?
Possibly.
Possibly. Sounds like something they might do, doesn't it? Barbaric race. Now experts would disagree with that, and they say he died like his father, of a stomach cancer. That's also where the General de Gaulle studied, at that military school. And he's the president the French like to remember as saying, how can you govern a country that's got 300 kinds of cheeses? I think he was right. But now we're going to make another quickie-picky stop in front of the Golden Dome. Did you spot the Golden Dome when you were standing up at the Trocadero in the distance there? It's a masterpiece of 17th century French classical religious architecture, and today it's visited because it's the mausoleum of Napoleon Bonaparte. So his tomb is in a crypt underneath the Golden Dome. We're just going to see it from the outside, but then in your free time, if you want to come back, know that your museum pass will also work in there. So you can visit not only the tomb of Napoleon, behind it is a very well decked out war history museum. So anybody interested in that would be the place to visit. You could spend a good few hours milling around this big complex, which is called the Invalides. So that's the name not only of the dome, but also everything around it. We'll drive the whole way around to give you an idea in a minute. But the most exciting part is obviously that Golden Dome. So let's make a little stop for a nice picture with the blue sky. We need another pee-pee stop, do we? Let's stop just around the corner there. There's a little coffee stop. You didn't all make it to that one? No?
They told them not to go into the museum, but go to the next door, and the next door was closed.
It was closed there, so we need to make a little pee-pee stop then. Or maybe a coffee stop as well. You all got crepes, but you didn't get coffees, did you? That nice black espresso stuff that blows your head off and keeps you awake for the next 5 hours. That's good stuff, isn't it? On va s'arrêter vers le café là-bas.
On va aller boire un café?
Oui, mais il y en a qui veulent aller aux toilettes. Donc si on peut s'arrêter vers les arbres là-bas, ce sera super.
Trouver la place.
Oui, that's it. We're not alone here, are we? We'll see if we can stop over there by that coffee shop because then you can use the just behind that one would be perfect, just in front. Because then if you use the coffee shop, which is here, they're quite used to us going in. However, they do expect you to buy at least a coffee at the bar if you're using their facilities. So if you pop in there, just at the bar, round the corner from the bar, down the stairs, there's a PP room. So they do expect you to buy at least a coffee on the bar. You can't just invade their coffee shop and use the PP room. Huh? So
Here we are in Versailles, the palace.
Really? Yeah. Interesting. The bus is on.
Yeah, it's very crowded today. Oh my God. What a sight. Someone actually used to live here.
That's what I was just telling them. Like, one person used to live here.
Yeah, one person, a whole bunch of servants.
Yeah.
And yeah.
There's one owner. That's insane. I don't think celebrities have been this big.
No, definitely not.
Not even the president.
Nope. Oh, such a long walk to the gate. All right, time to go in. Catch you later. So here we are in the French Riviera of Nice, and we're going to be doing a little traffic cam going to the hotel. Everybody's loading up on the bus, so I'm going to shut it down and then we'll resume when we're leaving. So, deuces. And here we go.
Okay.
Like what? Demeure. Vous avez dit.
Normalement 45 minutes maximum. Il est 15h20.
Il y a beaucoup de trafic. Il y a aussi
Ça dépend.
le bus de...
C'est la Formule 1 et il y a sur la promenade tout à l'heure il y avait un truc de sport.
On va à la promenade des
Ouais, mais bon, on va envoyer des ondes positives.
And on your left is a pharmacy.
Already starting out there.
I just heard attack by Disney and I was like, what story is this?
When we first got down to the train station in Paris.
Pretty much it's nice, but this bus driver is nice. He lets people cross over.
Vodka. Good.
Hey! What are we doing, Serena? Alright, well, I'm going to be giving my oranges to other people. Now, if we'd be picking apples, I'd be enjoying that.
The trees lined up on the street inside.
That is water in front of us. Nice.
How many times you stay in Nice? How many times was there? Flash. Ça, c'est, on est derrière la promenade. À côté, on va passer devant le Negresco.
Maintenant.
Maintenant.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Bonjour. Bonjour, Claude. He's driving us. As you can
Bonjour.
see, someone is driving us. We are arriving at the first site of Nice. The first
Ooh.
of our sightseeing tour, little tour here. Yeah, we have a reservation at the beautiful Negresco Hotel on the right-hand side. One of the first-class locations in Nice. Right? Not quite.
Got me excited there for a minute.
Oh.
What's the matter with you?
But in any case, it's nice to look at. When you come back in 10 years' time with a good job and lots of money in your pocket, this is where you stay.
Such a tease.
And right in front of you, Mediterranean Sea. There's the first glimpse for some of you.
Mediterranean
of the
Sea.
Sea. And we find ourselves on the Promenade des Anglais, and the English, the walkway of the English. As you see, all lined up with palm trees and different beaches, one after the other. Some private, some public. For the private ones you have to pay, obviously. For the public ones, you just go and lay out. We'll come here in the evening and stroll. That's also what many people do. And you see also the street is lined up with all types of restaurants and shops. And parallel to this walkway of the English, to our left, you'll find also a lot of restaurants and a very busy area of Nice. Now we're looking into the direction we are going is actually the direction of Monaco, and beyond Monaco that would be the border of Italy. So this is when we're heading out, we're going that way. Behind us will be Cannes and Saint-Tropez and Marseille, and then all the way down along the Mediterranean. Eventually you'll find the borders of Spain.
Ooh. Casino next to McDonald's.
Our restaurant tonight, Golden Arches.
Make it easy. Like the,
Easy.
like the double quarter pounder.
So the Formula One race is still going on. So Nice and Monaco very busy at the moment. Everybody is here. Also, the Cannes Film Festival ends today. It ends today, so that's why we actually heading there tomorrow and see if we can catch some celebrities,
Have fun with
some
that.
restaurants.
Yeah, have fun with that.
You're gonna have a beautiful tennis. No doubt.
Oh yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. Just sitting down, get my pre-game tan on.
So Nice is actually not just a seaside town, small town kind of mentality, but we're looking at about a good million people here, 1,880,000 and about 1 million all together with the surrounding areas. And it's the 5th largest city after Paris. Now, Claude told me that we will be on this bus for a good half an hour to 45 minutes, depending on traffic, maybe even longer, really depending. So we'll have to see how it goes. And by the time we get to the hotel, we'll have a meeting point, and I'll tell you what time to meet back, and I'll give you some time to go change and maybe have a quick shower, freshen up, and then meet me again. And I'll take you to town.
How dressy is it?
How dressy is it? Just casual, nice.
Okay.
So not too dressy, but
Good.
just like flip-flops. Flip-flops or sandals? Not so nice for dinner. Usually, guys, flip-flops are not really the thing to to wear when we're going out in France or Italy for a nice dinner. Although you may see tourists wearing flip-flops, but I think we're different. We can be different. Sandals, if sandals are not flip-flops, nice sandals, very nice, yes.
Well, it's a lot easier for women to pull off sandals and flip-flops than it is
Yeah.
for guys.
And also sportswear, hoodies, that kind of like flabbery kind of.
Don't dress like the old man. Don't dress like the old man.
I'm not the rage. When you go out in Nice in the evening to a nice restaurant. Shorts are okay, but no like soccer shorts type.
Yeah, like the shorts I wear.
Yes.
Is the water warm?
The water, medium. Probably, I don't know, what's the water like in California? Is that warm for you?
I think it's cold in California. But
I'll probably say it doesn't even reach 20s
it's warm in the
here. That is in Fahrenheit 65, 70?
Oh, that's pretty warm.
Water?
Yeah.
That's warm. Claude, tu sais,
Elle est froide encore. Elle est froide encore. Moi, c'est mon quatrième bain. Ah non, là, elle est à 16, 15, 16 maximum. Et en Camargue, elle est encore plus froide. Moi, je suis de Camargue.
So down in the 60s, temperature for the water.
C'est pas bon.
Not yet.
So do we leave Tuesday morning?
Day after tomorrow.
Wow, ça va.
I'm sure you remember the Musée d'Orsay in Paris. Did anyone go, by the way? Musée d'Orsay? Impressionists? No. But it used to be, if you can remember, it used to be a train station. Yeah? So this is the train station from where everybody took the train down to Nice. That was the southern train station. I mean, they've taken longer than 6 hours. I mean, we were on a train, the Grande Vitesse, and a fast train, on a speed train from Paris. It takes 6 hours to Nice. But they probably took more than 24. And this Nice became very popular for the English people in the 19th century, the last years of the 19th century. So a lot of English from London and from the colder regions of the UK and England, they traveled down to Nice and they discovered it actually makes a really nice place to spend the whole winter there. So many people came and spent their winters here and then returned for the summer to their own place. And also, since the weather, the air, the light is really pretty and lovely, a lot of painters and artists came here to paint. And amongst them were Henri Matisse, you may have heard of him, and Marc Chagall, who painted the ceiling of the Opera House in Paris. They also have museums here.
What is that?
We're coming up to the port. First cruise ship. everybody like to go out straight away after the check-in?
We'll get ready for it.
You're getting, yeah, well, obviously, you're getting ready first. We're checking in, we're dropping off things, we freshen up, and we come back down at, depending what time we get there, give you an hour, 45 minutes, an hour probably, two of you, an hour. Yeah. So from the time we arrive, we get an hour and then meet back. Yeah, we meet in the lobby, and then I'll take you around a little bit, hand out maps. So after a little walk, you can be walking around independently, check out the city for a little while, and then we meet back for dinner at 6:45. We have a 7 o'clock dinner set up for tonight. And then after dinner, you can feel free to roam around some more. I'll be out for a little while.
Are there any like monuments to visit there? Anything like important we should see?
Once we get the map, I'll circle them. So once we all have a map and we all look at the same things, I'll explain a little bit to you what you can go out and visit. Now for tomorrow, please everyone, can I have your attention? I'll pass this sheet around again. I mean, I already made reservations for the bus and for the restaurant. If there are minor changes to it, then everything stays as normal. If there is a major change, then we have to rethink the whole thing, okay? I'm just letting you know. Here's the sheet again, please. If you're on, you're on. Pass it around. I need the final number by the time we get off this bus.
It's 81.
And the price is 85. And we're doing Cannes tomorrow. Lunch is included. We have some free time in Cannes. And then we're going to Monaco and Monte Carlo. We can visit a museum. We can go to the palace area. The church where Grace Kelly is buried, where she got married.
Gamble a little bit.
You gamble, right? You see the course of the Formula One. In Cannes, there's also a beach. And so if you want to bring your beach towel, you can even lay out in Cannes for an hour.
What's going on?
I think he wants to park here.
There's a hotel there?
Is there a hotel here?
C'est l'hôtel. C'est pas trop grave. Non. Pardon? C'est ici le créateur.
Oh yeah.
Wait.
Be careful, huh?
Well, before you get off, lovely people, has everybody signed in?